Imagine a moment on which everything depends. Filthy, smoke and sweat-stained trenches somewhere in Stalingrad. The bone-chilling cold of a Korean winter. The damp, suffocating heat of the Vietnamese jungles, where every leaf could hide death. In your hand, the final argument, the last hope. Just a few hundred grams of steel, wood, and lead that stand between life and death. This is not just a weapon. It is an extension of your will to survive. Now think, what do you choose at this decisive moment? The powerful, punch-like American Colt that takes down an enemy with one shot? Or the fast, agile, dagger-like Soviet TT, whose bullet pierces obstacles and reaches its target faster than a scream? Friends, this story is not just a dry comparison of characteristics. It is the history of two civilizations, two philosophies, two views on war and on man himself, frozen in metal. This is a duel that divided the entire world. If you, like me, believe that the history of weapons is the history of people, that behind every scratch on the grip there is a destiny, like this video, subscribe to the channel and write in the comments your choice, TT or M1911. I am incredibly interested to know your opinion. And now, let's dive into the epicenter of this great confrontation. Steel and ideology. How a personal pistol became a symbol of an era. It is truly impossible to overestimate the importance of a personal pistol for an army. It is not a rifle with which a soldier goes on the attack, nor a machine gun spraying enemy positions with fire. It is the weapon of last resort. At the squad level, in the officer corps, in the hands of a scout or a tanker, it remains the most important, intensely personal means of self-defense. It is the last line when everything else has failed. And so, in the middle of the 20th century, two completely different, hostile military cultures formulated two fundamentally different answers to this challenge. The American M1911 and the Soviet TT-33. Two pistols born in the fire of two great revolutions. The American engineering and the Soviet industrial. Their meeting, symbolic and real, in the heart of the defeated Reichstag in 1945, where these two different worlds lay in the holsters of Soviet officers and American GIs, became the prologue to the coming Cold War. A war where even a soldier's personal weapon would bear the imprint of state ideology. Their confrontation is a systemic rivalry not just of designs, but of entire concepts. The powerful, heavy caliber and the American tradition of individualism versus the Soviet practice of simplicity, mass production, and collective strength. The American Leviathan, the birth of the M1911. To understand the M1911, you need to travel back to the turn of the 19th and 20th centuries. The USA is a young but already self-confident power, active on the international stage. The Army faces a problem. During the colonial wars in the Philippines, the powerful .38 calibers prove ineffective against fanatically charging opponents. A pistol with tremendous stopping power was needed. The answer was given by the brilliant self-taught man, the living legend John Moses Browning. His design, adopted in the year 1911, hence the index EM 1911, became not just a weapon, but a benchmark. The philosophy of the Colt was simple and brilliant, like a hammer blow. Stop the threat with one precise shot. Economic and industrial background, America on the rise. At the time of the M1911's creation, the USA was experiencing a period of rapid industrial growth, the so-called progressive era. The country was becoming the world's largest economy, surpassing the British Empire. Mass production, assembly lines, soon brilliantly implemented by Henry Ford. All this created a culture of high-precision engineering and standardization. The M1911 was a product of this culture. Its production required a quality steel industry, precision engineering, and a developed arms tradition. The Colt Company was its flagship. The pistol was not cheap, but it was incredibly reliable and effective. It was a tool for a professional who valued his life. Construction as a religion. Caliber. .45 ACP, automatic Colt pistol. This is the heart and soul of the M1911. A heavy bullet, approximately 12 grams, flying at a relatively low speed, 250, 270 meters per second. Upon hitting a target, it transferred monstrous kinetic energy, creating a huge temporary pulsating cavity and inflicting catastrophic damage. It was not just a shot, It was a knockout. Design: the short recoil operation with a swinging link, Browning's brainchild. It provided the highest reliability and accuracy. Ergonomics and safety: the M1911 was large, heavy, about 1 kilogram 150 grams loaded. It felt solid in the hand. The presence of a manual safety, a grip safety, made it safe to handle, but required high training from the shooter. The M1911 educated its owner. It dictated tactics. Don't fire blindly, but aim carefully and make one decisive shot. It was the weapon of a self-confident man, almost a duelist. The Soviet proletarian bayonet, the creation of the TT-33. Now let's move to the young Soviet Russia of the late 20s, early 30s. A country rising from the ruins of the Civil War, beginning a grand, unprecedented industrialization. The slogan, "Catch up and overtake," applied to everything, including armament. The Red Army was still armed with the hopelessly outdated Nagant revolver. It needed a replacement. The task was entrusted to Fyodor Vasilyevich Tokarev, a talented practical designer. And here is where it gets interesting. Tokarev, as they say, creatively reworked the design of the same Browning. But he did it in the spirit of Stalin's industrialization. Everything for the sake of simplicity, mass production, and cheapness. It was not an evolution, but a vivisection. All the superfluous was mercilessly cut off. Economic and industrial background, USSR, and the course for mass production. The Soviet Union in the 30s was a country making a giant leap from an agrarian to an industrial era. The task was to create thousands of factories, to train millions of workers. Under these conditions, a weapon had to be not just good, but technological. It had to be assembled on a conveyor belt by workers who had just come from the countryside. Every extra part, every complex machining operation, that was a loss of time and resources. The TT was created exactly like that. Its cost had to be minimal. This was not just steel, it was a strategic resource for an army of several million people. Logistics was also a key factor. The 7.62 by 25 mm cartridge was also used in the PPSH and PPS submachine guns, which incredibly simplified army supply. Construction as an idea. Caliber 7.62 by 25 mm Tokarev. The complete opposite of the 45 ACP. A light bullet, 5.5–6 grams, but accelerated to a mind-boggling speed of 440 meters per second. This is a mosquito bullet that stings painfully. Its main advantages are a flat trajectory and phenomenal penetration ability. In practice, this meant that a TT shooter could effectively fire at a greater distance, and his bullet would penetrate helmets, light cover, and even first-generation body armor. Simplification to asceticism. Tokarev removed the manual safety. Why does a soldier going on the attack need it? According to Soviet military doctrine, the pistol had to be always ready for immediate firing. The safety function was assigned to the half-cock notch on the hammer. This was a radical solution that made the weapon more dangerous for an untrained owner, but phenomenally quick to deploy for a soldier. Ergonomics. The TT was lighter, narrower, more elegant than its American rival. It was more convenient to carry concealed. It didn't snag on equipment. It was a tool for fast combat, blitzkrieg in miniature. The TT did not educate a duelist. It was the weapon of a soldier of the masses, a cog in a big military machine. Its philosophy: rate of fire, penetrating power, and standardization. Duel of characteristics, power versus speed. Let's pit them against each other head-to-head, like two boxers in a ring. Round 1. Caliber and ballistics. Heavyweight versus lightweight. M1911, .45 ACP. Imagine being hit by a slow but incredibly heavy truck. The effect is shocking, overwhelming. The 45 caliber bullet has a huge diameter, 11.5 millimeters, and creates an extensive wound cavity. Its stopping power is close to absolute. However, its trajectory is more arched. It loses velocity and energy faster at a distance. TT 7.62 by 25 mm. Now imagine the strike of a red-hot needle. Very fast, piercing. The TT bullet, thanks to its high velocity, flies almost in a straight line, making aiming easier at medium distances. It enters a barrier like a corkscrew. But due to its small diameter, 7.82 millimeters, and lightweight, if it doesn't hit a vital organ, the enemy can continue to fight. Round 2. Convenience and ergonomics. Comfort versus practicality. M1911. It is solid. Its weight is felt as a guarantee of quality, but carrying it all day is quite a test for the lower back. The magazine holds only 7 rounds. Reloading takes time. This is a weapon for methodical, conscious combat. TT light, flat, as if created for concealed carry. The magazine holds 8 rounds, only one more, but in battle even that can be decisive. The lack of a safety is a double-edged sword. On one hand, the risk of an accidental discharge, and such cases happened. On the other, to open fire, you just need to cock the hammer and pull the trigger. This is time saved in a critical situation. Round 3. Manufacturability and repairability. Masterpiece versus COG. M1911. This is a piece, a high-quality product. Its production required high standards. Replacing a broken part in the field was difficult. TT, ideal for wartime. The design allowed for stamping parts by the millions. Simplicity meant that it could be repaired by an army gunsmith with a minimal set of tools. The TT was a consumable in the Great War of engines and human masses. Baptism by fire, from Stalingrad to Vietnam. It is in war that theories are tested by blood. The Great Patriotic War. The TT-33 became the working tool for millions of Soviet officers, tank crews, and artillerymen. It was valued for its reliability and powerful cartridge. The Germans, who captured trophy TTs, even adopted them for limited service under the Index Pistol 615R. The M1911 went through World War II in the hands of American officers and sergeants, proving itself as a reliable and deadly last argument in the Pacific and in Europe. The Korean War, 1951-1953. This was their first direct encounter. American soldiers, armed with M1911s, faced North Korean and Chinese fighters who had TTs and their Chinese copies, the Type 54. In the conditions of close combat in the mountains and on snowy plains, some GIs began to prefer the trophy TTs. Why? Lightweight, less recoil allowing for a faster second-aim shot, and the penetrating ability of the bullet, which was useful in conditions where the enemy often took cover behind light barriers. The Vietnam War, 1965-1975. This was the apex of their confrontation, a real duel in the jungle. The humid, rotting atmosphere, sudden ambushes, point-blank combat distances. Here, the M1911 and the Type 54, Chinese TT, met again. Analysis from real reports. American Marines and soldiers respected the trophy Tokarevs. The TT was accurate, reliable. Its bullet easily pierced bamboo stalks and the thin walls of huts. But when it came to a head-on collision in the thick of the jungle, most still preferred their native Colt. Why? The answer lies in the word, stopping power. Here is a typical situation from after-action reports. A Vietnam veteran tells how an enemy soldier jumps out at him in thick vegetation. Distance, 3 meters. A shot from an M1911, 45 caliber into the center of mass. The opponent is literally knocked off his feet, as if hit by a truck. The fight is over. With the TT with exactly the same hit, the enemy, driven by adrenaline and fanaticism, sometimes managed to return fire or throw a grenade. The high-velocity TT bullet could pass right through without causing instant shock trauma. The 45 ACP bullet stopped the target guaranteed. Legacy and philosophy, what won? So who won this great duel? No one. And both. Neither pistol won in an abstract sense. Both became the basis for subsequent solutions, and both remained in service around the world for decades. The fate of the TT-33. It officially left the Soviet Army with the adoption of the Makarov pistol, PM, under the new 9x18mm cartridge, which was more oriented towards police use. But the TT continued its service in the armies of the Warsaw Pact countries, Asia, Africa, and in countless guerrilla movements. It is still found in the most diverse points of the planet. Its philosophy, manufacturability, cheapness, and a powerful cartridge lives on in modern pistols oriented towards army tenders, where the cost per unit is a critical factor. The fate of the M1911. It yielded its place in the U.S. Army to the 9mm Beretta M9 in the 80s, losing out on magazine capacity and training simplicity criteria. But the M1911 experienced a real renaissance on the civilian market and in special units. Dozens of companies around the world continue to produce its modifications. It has become a cult object, an icon of American gun culture. Its philosophy, power, and accuracy still makes it a popular choice for special forces operators and weapon connoisseurs around the world. The TT and M1911 were weapons of a transitional era. They personified steel, wood, large caliber, maximalism. The American approach said, "Give the soldier the best that can be made, and he will win." The Soviet approach asserted, "Give millions of soldiers a good and simple weapon, and their mass will crush the enemy." The M1911 is the embodiment of trust in the individual fighter, in his skill and responsibility. The TT-33 is the embodiment of the strength of the system, the collective, where overall reliability and simplicity are important. Their duel remained in the 20th century, but their influence, their philosophical confrontation is felt today in every modern pistol model that seeks that very fragile and desired balance between speed, power, convenience, and cost. And so we have traveled with you through decades, across continents, through the fire of great battles. We held two legends in our hands, two opposite but equally great ideas. We saw that the choice between them is not just a choice of weapon. It is a choice of philosophy, a choice of an entire civilization. What do you think? What were you silently arguing about while reading this text? Whose philosophy is closer to you, the power and precision of the American Leviathan or the speed and practicality of the Soviet bayonet? Imagine that you right now have to walk through that very door, behind which lies the unknown. Your life is at stake. Your hand reaches for the holster. What do you draw? The M1911 or the TT-33? Write your answers in the comments. Let a real discussion flare up. Your opinion is priceless. Be sure to subscribe to the channel, because new duels of legends await us. AK-47 versus M16, Tiger versus Sherman, and much more. Like this video if the story ignited a fire of interest in history within you, and share it with like-minded friends. See you soon on the pages of our channel.